state your name.
Tracy Northcutt.
And this is my sister. You can see me in the mirror. What's up? um, she's my big sis. She's my role model. She's my hero. And I love her. And I thought she'd be perfect for this interview. All right. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Question 1. Give us a brief summary of your life in regards to the steps that you completed to become successful.
Well, I think, as with anything, success and driving towards your goals comes with preparation. And for me, I've always been somebody that has always focused on my studies since the time I was in kindergarten. I can remember talking to the teacher, having the teacher quiz me on certain things, and I remember specifically counting to 100 in kindergarten, and I was counting so fast that the teacher had me stop halfway through because she knew that I knew how to count to 100. So I've always been motivated by my school and being successful, and I don't know if I do believe that some people are sort of born not needing to get motivated, or they are self-motivated, and I feel like I'm probably one of those people.
Yep.
So
I would say so.
So
What was your GPA in high school? 4.0?
no, it was a 394.
Wow.
But I did take some lame classes because I got lazy. So I'm not perfect. I still have my own struggles, and I did have to work when I was in high school, and I played soccer, so I didn't have as much time to put towards my studies, or at least I didn't prioritize it in the same way. But I think all in all, it comes down to preparation. It comes down to doing the little things every single day, because a larger goal is not going to be achieved unless you do the smaller things every day. So you set a goal for yourself, and then you start working backwards to figure out what are the activities that you need to do in order to achieve that goal, and break it up into smaller pieces so that it doesn't seem overwhelming, and then just not giving up. If I gave up on all my goals, I wouldn't be where I was at. So I'm certainly, I have to work hard to be where I'm at, but it hasn't come easy either.
Very nice. All right, next question. What was the biggest struggle you've had to endure?
Well, the biggest struggle that I've been through was my mom dying when I was 8 years old. And she was in a car accident, so she wasn't sick or didn't have cancer or anything, so there was really no preparation involved in it. It was a tragedy, and trying to rebuild your life. And as an 8-year-old, you don't even really, I think, understand death or how to process it. So and then back then, so this was in 1985, there really wasn't as much education on resources, helping your kids understand how to grieve and getting them through that. So I think a lot of the baggage that I carried in my life, a lot of it came out in my 20s, and having to work through some of those issues. But I think that it actually made me a very resilient person, and it made me even more ambitious and able to get through the struggles. And because I was used to it, I was prepared to get through times that were hard.
Yeah.
And so for me, that just helped in the preparation. And I think the drawback to that for me has been that I have a really high degree of tolerance for hardships and or things that are not ideal. So I've found myself in my career maybe staying in a job longer than I should have, because I could tolerate it. Not that it was healthy for me or good for me, but I ended up pushing through something that maybe it was ready for me to move on.
Right.
So, you have to kind of think about, when you have time to reflect, what are the good things? Because with struggle and hardship, there's always something good that comes out of it. You always grow in a certain way. You always build character. On the flip side, there's also negative either attributes or behaviors that we carry with us
Yeah.
that have to do with that. And so it's trying to figure out, like, being really introspective and figuring out what are your strengths and weaknesses, and then being realistic about the goals and the things that you set for yourself so that you can be successful.
Very true. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
What is your definition of success?
Success is very personal, and I would say that, but I also think that to me, a universal way to look at success is to be doing something that brings out the best in you and leverages your strengths, because we're not all good at all things.
No.
So you have to figure out what are the strengths that you can double down on and become really good at those things that leverage your strengths. And on the other hand, you also want to be happy in what you're doing. So for me, success comes down to, how am I leveraging my strengths in a way every day that makes me happy? And that doesn't mean money. It doesn't mean financial. It means fulfillment at a personal level. And I think people's definition of success changes as they go throughout their life. So I've been involved in different transitions within my career. I started out as a financial advisor right out of college in my undergrad, and then I went back and got my MBA, and then I moved into a career at Microsoft in the tech industry. So as I progressed in my career, my definition, or what fulfilled me, changed, but I think the core doesn't change in terms of leveraging your strengths and then figuring out what makes you happy and doing both of those things. If you can get both of those nailed, then I feel like people could say that they're successful. That's a way to measure it.
Very nice. Number 3 or 4. What was your biggest failure in life? Tough one.
Well, there's lots of them. I think probably the one that comes to mind most recently is the decision I made to leave Microsoft. So in September of 2014, after 8 years at Microsoft, I decided to leave because there was a great opportunity ahead of me to co-found a business with somebody I worked at Microsoft with, and she left Microsoft a few months before me, and was trying to recruit me to come work for her startup, and it was pretty risky, so I decided that I wasn't going to take advantage of that opportunity. But then I found out that the company, I knew that she was interviewing for Shark Tank, and we ended up, after the segment had filmed, we ended up getting a handshake deal with Mark Cuban. So at that point, I decided that it was an acceptable risk to take, and I would leave Microsoft. But probably about 2 months into leaving and starting, I started to uncover a lot of mistakes that were made by the CEO, who was my previous colleague at Microsoft, and there was tons of mistakes that were made. I think on my end, the mistake that I made is I didn't do enough research. I trusted her, and what I realized is you have to really find subject matter expertise in the new business or the area that you're focusing on with a new business. And none of us had manufacturing experience, and our product was personalized superhero action figures that were 3D printed. At least the head of the action figure was 3D printed. The body was not, and those were pre-manufactured in China, and that's where all the issues came in. We didn't know how to forecast how much demand we would have when Shark Tank aired. So she aired on the very, very high side. So we ended up having a lot of money tied up in inventory. There was a software component. I mean, it was just mismanagement of the company left and right. But obviously you walk away from it being very humbled, and you do learn, mainly you don't know what you don't know. And that's why it's important to really seek out experts. when you're starting a new business if you're not an expert in that area. But I try not to look back at my life and live with regrets. I did learn a lot. I do have a really fun story to tell about how I founded a company that was on Shark Tank. We did get a deal with Mark Cuban. We were able to salvage and get the software acquired. So there was a little bit of financial benefit that came from it. But I think really it's part of the story, and it's how you tell the story and the impact it made in your life, that when I go for my next opportunity, hopefully they will be, intrigued by it. And also I think when you start a company, it tells a lot about the type of person you are. You're willing to take risks. Maybe they're calculated risks, but you're willing to take risks. You're willing to try something different. You have courage. You're willing to work hard because, starting a company is
not easy.
It's not for sissies.
Yeah.
So.
Very good. Okay. What was a failure that ended up being a success? Let's not talk about what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Even though it has its ways of being a success.
Probably one of the other stories that I have of failing was my very short stint in playing soccer in college. So I was going to go to UW right after graduating from high school, and I was all set to go. I went through sorority rush up at UW, and then I didn't get in the sorority I wanted. So that was sort of a catalyst for other reasons why I wanted to stay down in Tacoma and go to community college. One was I had a boyfriend that lived in Tacoma at the time, and I wouldn't say that was the primary reason, but that was part of it. The other reason was that it was just a lot less expensive to go to community college, and being that I had to pay for all of my college on my own, I thought that would be a wise decision. So I missed the tryouts the first year. So the next year I decided to try out for the soccer team.
For TCC?
Yeah, TCC. Okay. And they actually had won state the year previous. So they were a really strong team. And I was a little rusty because I hadn't played for a year. But I was going to be on the starting team. And then there was a girl that had decided not to play that year, but then she changed her mind. So she came back. She actually took over the position that I was supposed to be starting at, so now I was on the bench. And my whole soccer career, I'd never been on the bench, so it wasn't very appealing to be sitting on the bench. And then there was an issue with the coach. He had a tendency to berate people, and he ended up later on getting fired from PLU because he was the coach there and did the same things there. So at least looking back now, knowing that, I know that I wasn't necessarily out of line for quitting, but he had berated me in front of everybody at a soccer game, and I just thought about it more, and I was in my sophomore year at UW, and I thought, well, I need to focus on my prerequisites for business school, and I think this is actually going to take away from that. So it was a really hard decision because I tend to not be somebody that quits, but I had made the decision that I was going to quit and focus on my studies. And in the end, I ended up getting into the business school at UW, which is very competitive. About half the people don't get in. I also ended up getting into the business school from community college, which is even more, it's even more challenging. So at the end of the day, I think that extra time that I was focusing on my studies put me in a better position to succeed for that goal of getting into business school.
Sweet. Everything happens for a reason, right?
I think so. At least we like to tell ourselves that after something happens.
I know. Okay, last one. It's a little repetitive, but if you could change anything in your life about the journey up to this point, what would it be, if anything at all? If you had a time machine.
There's a few things I would change. I still would have went to UW in my undergrad. I think it's an amazing school, and it is a tremendous value for the money you're paying, especially when I went, because I graduated in 2000, so tuition was a lot cheaper than it is now at
Wow.
UW Seattle. So I think I got a really good value for my education. The business school is a great business school, top 20, 25 in the country. I think few things. One, I wouldn't have went into financial advising. I wanted to help people because having lost my mom when I was younger, I was really interested in making sure that people planned for their future. They had life insurance so that if they passed away or something bad happened, their family wouldn't be in dire straits. So that's one of the driving forces behind why I wanted to be a financial advisor. At the end of the day, I didn't end up in that field. So it didn't make me happy. There was a lot of different things that I wasn't happy with. So I, after 6 years, made the decision to leave. So for me, I probably would have went right into a career in marketing, which is what I'm doing now, and it's really what I'm passionate about. With that, I would have probably done my MBA at UW as well. So I did my master's in business at Seattle U. And Seattle U is a great school. It's an evening program, so it's really designed for people that are working and want to do school in the evening time. But it doesn't have kind of the clout that University of Washington does in terms of the MBA program as well. So that's another thing I would have done differently as I would have went to UW, or even potentially a very, very top 10, top 15 business program. What I realize in life is that those things matter. It's not to say you can't be successful, but especially for women, when you carry an Ivy League degree, you have a edge up from people. So knowing what I know now, that would be something that I would do different. And I think I wouldn't have left Microsoft in the way that I did. I was very unhappy in my last in my last team at Microsoft, and Microsoft's just a big company that you can move to another product or another area in the company, and it can be operating completely different, like a different company. So the last organization I was in was very toxic, and I think I very quickly ran to the easiest path, which was leaving to go to the startup, especially as I felt like the momentum was really there and great things were going to come out of it, and it ended up being a big disappointment. But in the end, I've learned a lot, and I've also been able to really broaden my marketing skills where I'm at now, which is T-Mobile. So I think I'm a way better marketer. I know so much more in that realm, and I'm also making more money than I was at Microsoft because I told myself that the next time that I got a job offer, I would negotiate really, really well. Because I was at Microsoft so long, over time I was paid less than new people coming in because wages are rising faster than my pay increases. So for me, being able to turn that into an opportunity to make more money, and then wherever I go, I will always command that higher rate. Right. And so when you think about an extra $20,000 a year, let's say, over the next 25 years of me working until I retire, that ends up being a lot of money when you think about the time value of money and how that appreciates. So I still think there's a lot of good that came out of it, and who knows, I may end up at Microsoft again.
You never know. All right, well, nice work. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks.
And let's get a cute sis shot.
Oh.
Yay!
Yay, sis.
Bye, class. I don't know how to stop this. Oh, here we go.